that there is going to be a lot of profiling of
Absolutely.
folks. Because
but believe me when I tell you, because, well, Rick, you know me. I'm a little Peter Sellers, Groucho Marx wannabe, but hey, pal, what am I going to do? Okay? That mustache of mine's been with me since '67. I'll take it to the grave.
I know a man who shaved off his mustache during the Gulf War, and I said, why did you do that? And he said, because Saddam Hussein has a mustache.
You got it.
And I said, well, my goodness. I mean, we're getting to a point where, and it's very unfortunate, because I know people who work in department stores, and they said, guess what you do not see anymore? You do not see women coming in wearing veils. Or
no, absolutely.
They're afraid to leave the house.
Absolutely. Believe me, I've got good friends, good friends that, have contacted me wanting to know if they can go here or go there, and I says, well, please, I mean, my God, this is America, and this is the first week.
Wow. All right, well, if you're on the lines, be patient. I'll get to you. We've been discussing America under attack, essentially. We're at war. It's a new war against many, many faces.
Rick, we got to talk about the Secretary of Defenses and the lack of it.
No, we'll get to that as well as your phone calls at 578-1100 and the 216 area code. If you'd care to email me, it's Gilly@WTAM.com. If you care to email my guest, Norm Ezzy, that's StorminNorm.com. Now with coverage of what in the world's happening, here's our very own Clifford Bakley.
Continuing coverage on Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100, a service of Clear Channel Worldwide.
Searchers keep looking for the missing, but the odds are growing longer. Good evening. I'm Cliff Bakley, and this is the 1030 report on News Radio, WTAM 1100. Details coming up. Channel 3 weather, here's Mike Stone.
Clear to partly cloudy tonight with the low in the low to mid 40s. For Sunday, mostly sunny with highs around 70.
Currently 53 degrees at your official weather station, News Radio, WTAM 1100.
Attack on America. Our in-depth team coverage continues right now.
Odds are slim of finding anyone else alive at the World Trade Center site, says New York City Fire Commissioner Thomas Van Essen, but rescuers press on.
My guys describe it to me as a crater, almost like a volcano, that it dries down at least 7 stories.
Donations of food, clothing, and supplies from across the U.S. and around the world pour into New York. Garrick Hoadley is a volunteer with New York State's Oswego County Red Cross chapter.
There's just people here from all over the country, and even Canadian and other international helpers. So, yes, and it's going to go on a long time.
Michelle DeFazio married her husband John 2 months ago. He worked as a bond trader at the World Trade Center and is missing. He was preparing to leave his job.
He was in the process of becoming a fireman. And, I would always tell him, please don't become a fireman, because I was so nervous. But, and then this happened. No one ever thought this would happen.
People are holding on to every shred of hope. Chuck Siebertson, ABC News.
The Columbus Dispatch reports federal regulators documented more security breaches at Hopkins International Airport in the 90s than any other airport serving Ohio cities. The paper says there were 307 breaches at Hopkins and 200 at the airport in Columbus. I'm Cliff Bakley on Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100.
Continuing coverage coming up at the top of the hour. Bulletins at 1. News Radio, WTAM 1100.
This is a conflict without battlefields or beachheads. A conflict with opponents who believe they are invisible. Yet they are mistaken. They will be exposed, and they will discover what others in the past have learned. Those who make war against the United States have chosen their own destruction.
I'm Rick Gilmour, discussing what could be the beginnings of World War III. Joined on the line by local political pundit Norm Ezzy. And
Did you ever think you would say that?
Local political pundit?
No, World War III.
No, I never had thoughts of having to ever have to say it.
I wonder if your listening audience ever thought they would hear it in their lifetime, because their biggest fear is outliving their money. But now, look what's at the doorstep.
We were talking a little about the media and how they surrounded this event, and I want to talk about airtime uninterrupted. I don't know if you saw, was it the Today Show? Is that Katie Couric on in the morning? Mm-hmm. She had Joe Biden on. Now, if you want to talk about the liberal media, she let Joe Biden talk until the cows come home. His hair grew back faster than any man on the planet, and she let him go on and on and on for what seemed like 10 minutes. Now, consider how the conversation went when she had Chuck Heston on. And she dogged that man, dogged him.
You want to know something that's even worse than that?
What?
Senator John Kerry from Massachusetts wrote a book called The New War.
Yes, sir.
He wrote it.
Yes.
He wouldn't promote it. Why would you write a book and not promote it? Go to the Borders, go to the library, read the book, folks. It's all there. It's all there. It's all there. Nothing happens by accident. By the way, you know who said that in politics?
Who?
FDR.
Well, there are no coincidences. I've become convinced of that.
You know, and these people that are not, politics is boring. You find this boring tonight, folks? What you face tomorrow morning or Monday with your stock market? Please don't insult me.
And I also wonder if Joe Biden's mother really knows what the term pathogen is. He kept talking about how his mother was worried about pathogens. I thought I had to look it up. I'm a word boy.
Well, you know what's really funny, too? This took the page off of that Congressman Condon out of Modesto, California, didn't it?
It's got to be the happiest man alive.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, Jim, you're on the air.
Is this Rick?
Yes.
Hi, Rick. How you doing?
Good. Say hi to Norm.
Hi, Norm. How you doing?
Hey, sir. How are you?
Great. Hey, I got about 6 points I want to make real quick so you guys, we can maybe clear up some misinformation, at least what I feel is wrong. Okay?
All right.
When Mike was on the air, Mike's whole point of view was he wants to negotiate.
Mike Trivisonno.
Right, Mike Trivisonno.
Yes.
So he's looking at it wrong. What happened is that, and I want to kind of like talking to Mike, we were sucker punched. Okay? He said we lost the fight. We didn't lose the fight. We just got sucker punched. That's all. And, for instance, if I said my religion says I must sucker punch the devil and his name is Mike, so all Mikes get sucker punched every time I see him. Every chance I see Mike, he gets sucker punched. Do you think Mike's going to negotiate with me to understand my religion?
I don't think there's any negotiating with a religious zealot or a crusader.
Exactly, and I think so. Mike's looking at it wrong. It wasn't that we lost the fight or this is over or whatever. We just we got sucker punched, and he knows what he would do if he got sucker punched. That's what I'm trying to explain. The other thing is that, you know, how many religious factions are there? Maybe with 10,000 or more members, maybe 100. Would you say?
Go ahead.
99 of them are wrong. Mm-hmm. We'll find out when we die.
You got that right.
So, and as far as I'm concerned, there's one God.
Exactly.
And we'll find out, yeah, like you said, when we die, we'll find out, who screwed up.
Right. If someone says, you know, your God says drink the green tea, or we need to land on some comet, or we should kill people, it's probably not God telling you. You probably have read something wrong, or you developed a chemical imbalance, and you should go see a doctor as soon as possible.
Can I assume, let me ask, I know you got a couple other points here, but I want to ask Norm, can we assume that and like I said, when we talk about Shiite Muslims and the groups that are on the fringe, it's taking, these are the same people that would read the Bible and take every word for word and twist it to however they want it to fit into.
Well, you know what? I got to tell you, and I'm going to catch a lot of heat for this, a lot of Bible thumpers, okay, want to interpret the Bible for their little crusade.
Exactly.
Okay, and,
yes.
you know, give an example, and here we go, and I'll take the heat when I say it. The Catholic Church, folks, tell me in the Bible where the hell purgatory is. Is that like a little rest stop on the way up or down?
Well, how about this point? I'm Catholic, and I understand what you're talking about. But let's say you take someone who's a born-again Christian. If you ask them, so what does that mean? Because Moses didn't come to accept Jesus as Lord and Savior, he's not going to heaven? What are you talking about?
Well, they invent things along the way, I think. I really do. And I don't want to get into the religious aspect.
Right, exactly.
But they invent things for the times that we live in. But let me say this to you, my friend, and I am a Christian, and I read the Bible very, very closely in my own little way, and I have a unique relationship with my Lord. Let me tell you what it is, though. Okay? Satan, by the way, only one guy today in the news, I believe, said the word Satan. Satan designs himself for the times that we live in, and make no mistake about it, he's among us.
Okay, I believe that. Two more points.
Quickly.
The political parties, when we talk about that, all Democratic leaders are always liberal. They're always weak. They always want to destroy the country.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we got Watergate. We've got Iran-Contra, so let's not even go there. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, or liberal. It's who the best person for the position is.
No. Time out.
You got to quit voting. Wait a minute. You got to quit voting party line.
By the same people, my friend. They're both owned. That is an illusion of what I call the invisible charade. Look left, look right. It's both the same.
Exactly.
The ideology is nothing but BS.
Right, exactly. Okay, I agree with that totally. Okay, then the other point for the Islamic community, we've got to bring this out. The Islamic community must name a national spokesman to say that we are all Americans. We want to go get Ben Loudon. He's our problem, so we're going to form a coalition.
They're doing that right now, sir. You're just not hearing about it on the news. Excuse me. They're doing that right now. You're not hearing it on the news.
Yeah, and what they need is, I guess, and thanks for checking in there, Jim.
They need Jesse Jackson to go over there with Farrakhan. Wouldn't that be a wonderful package?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They need a Jesse Jackson for the Arab community to form a coalition to say they do need a spokesman, do they not? Do they have a spokesman?
Well, they do. I can't pronounce their name, so don't ask me.
But see, the same thing with the Republican, Democrat, black hat, white hat.
You got
always a conflict. As long as there's always a conflict, and this is what we were talking about when I mentioned that we were going to get into the area of the New World Order and how this is all revolving around money.
Absolutely. Rick, let's do this. Let's cut them a check like Bush did to us. Okay? $300 to a Shiite over there in Afghanistan is like hitting the lotto. Let's buy them.
Can we buy them?
Well, I don't know. Will they take a check?
I don't know. Do they have a bank to cash it in?
Probably with some goat.
Well, it's amazing because people do not see the big picture, and they look and they say, oh, no, I'm a Republican, or no, I'm a Democrat. Or all this is meant to do is just like the folks who say that they think that religion was formed to keep people down. Well, why do you think there are different political parties that are formed to have this constant conflict to give Joe Sixpack something to argue about at the bar?
Now, by the way, and I don't want to get off on a tangent, but I'm going to go after a little bit of a group, and a lot of my liberal friends that used to hear me on the airways, especially, well, I'm not going to mention some names, but Judicial Watch. 51 lawsuits, not one win, but Larry Klayman keeps asking for money. I rest my case.
Amen and hallelujah. Jake.
Okay, not one conviction. Nothing.
Jake in Barkeyville, you're on the air.
Hey, this guy sounds like a real nut, Rick, and I enjoy it.
Well, you know what it is? Because I've talked with Norm, and some folks describe Norm Ezzy, local political pundit, as an extremist or a wacko or a crackpot. And I said, you know what? I've listened to Norm, and I've spoken with Norm, and I've been friends with Norm for a length of time. And I thought, what makes you think that he's a crackpot now? Now that the planes are flying into buildings, now all of a sudden his phone's ringing off the hook.
And friend, please, go to my website, storminnorm.com. Go to my links and check out everything. Go to commondreams.org and read the Middle East news. Read BBC. Start getting informed and become a nut like me.
I already think I am, Norm. I listen to the BBC, The World Today.
You got it.
I do that. I don't have a computer, and I think I've heard most of the things that you're saying. Just finding good outlets, whether it be writing, whether it be, on the radio.
The hardest part is basically, busting that veil of, like, how can this happen in America? How come I didn't hear it on, 3, 5, or 8? And it is overwhelming. I mean, there's so much. Whoever's thought about genetic engineering 10, 15 years ago or cloning children, it's just we become what I call Star Trekky.
Well, I think if you go back and look, and I think I pointed out to Rick a couple of weeks ago a book I was reading about how the Irish saved civilization, and they talked a lot about what happened to Rome, the bureaucracy, the taxes, the porous borders.
Oh, yeah.
We look in this country right now, we can't run CYS, we can't run the DMV with our government and its bureaucracy. How are we supposed to run the NSA, the FBI, the CIA?
You've got to get a permit for a propane fuel tank in your backyard. We're the most regulated society on the planet. Granted, this is somewhat of a still quote-unquote free nation, but you're absolutely right. We pay the freight, and unfortunately we fight the wars of the world, and this is one war that we better know exactly who we're going after, who the enemy really is. And I think at this stage of the game, there's a big question mark, and I pray for this administration, I pray for the American people, because it will be a minimum, I believe, a 10-year grinder.
We have to get back to the education, because all this stuff that I'm reading now, because I have small children, and I read to them constantly, the stuff I'm reading now, a guy pointed out another book, Our Sacred Honor, Bill Bennett, another guy I really enjoy, pointing out what the Founding Fathers said and what we're not doing now.
Oh, those slave owners. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, how do we get I don't think this is going to do it. I don't think this, whatever it is, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people is going to do it. It's going to change us from putting down our remotes, picking up a book, picking up the Constitution. It's not that long. You could read the Constitution in an hour.
but it's not politically correct anymore. But, what about the Bill of Rights? But when people start to realize they can't do this or they can't do that for the sake of their safety, then they're going to wonder what happened to America. And there was a few of us in the heartland of America, in the cities, in the ghettos, and I'm talking about the lugs on the docks and the corporate rats that are with their alligator wingtip shoes on there. They're starting to wake up, my friend. There's a resurgence in America that makes me proud.
Well,
Jake.
I hear that too. My brother agrees. He's a little more optimistic than I, but I do agree. I do say that it's better that we have Bush in this administration than the last administration.
Absolutely.
Jake,
they're
quickly.
still wrong.
Yeah, well, okay. All right, Jake, thank you for the phone call. It's time now to check in with ABC News.
Attack on America. Our in-depth team coverage continues right now.
Family's keeping me going, but I'm really not doing too good.
Michelle DeFazio's husband, Jason, is missing and feared in the rubble of the World Trade Center in New York.
You hear all different stories that there may be bomb shelters underneath the World Trade Center. So I'm just hoping someday it's been hard, and every day it gets worse, but I keep praying.
Michelle DeFazio says they were only married 2 months ago. Funeral services were held for some of those who died in the attacks, including top officials with the New York Fire Department. President Bush says we are at war. Mr. Bush says everybody who wears the uniform, get ready. The president adds Americans should go on with their lives, but with caution. Pakistan has offered its support to help the United States in its fight against those responsible for Tuesday's terrorist attacks. Pakistan is next door to Afghanistan, where the prime suspect in the attacks, Osama bin Laden, is believed to have hid in the mountains. Michael Barr, ABC News.
The nation sends its love and compassion. God bless America! To everybody who is here. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for making the nation proud. And may God bless America.
That the voice of President Bush when he was viewing the rubble of the Twin Towers of Phallic Finance. The Phallic Towers of Finance. I think they should rebuild them. I really think that they should rebuild them with 4 small buildings and 1 large one in the middle. As if you were telling someone they're number 1. Joined on the line by local political pundit Norm Ezzy. Norm, we were talking a bit about earlier about some of the things that I really cannot discuss on the air, lest I risk losing my job. If someone goes to your website, storminnorm.com, do you address issues that one could not air?
No, I do that in public presentations and public speaking. I don't do it on the internet because I don't want to be construed as something that I'm not.
But you can discuss at great length.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, I just received a fax, and China is repositioning themselves where they will not allow U.S. aircraft in their airspace. Since they're repositioning, whatever that means.
Well, I thought it was interesting that Pakistan seemed to have rather open arms to let us...
Well, yeah, because we're paying our way. I mean, we're giving them a ton of money.
See, that's part of the New World Order. What I mentioned earlier is the fact that since we will have a global economy, these countries, who are they going to side with? I mean, are they really going to side with a group of, say, 5,000 terrorists? Yeah. Or are they going to side with the Dow Jones?
Also, right now, too, the royal family is fearful for their safety. And I just wish sometimes I didn't have access to the information that I do get because I'm the first one that is a skeptic of it, and then I got to do the push-ups, and I know my phone bill's going to be out of sight.
The Senate Intelligence Committee Vice Chairman Richard Shelby wants to overturn that 25-year-old ban on foreign assassinations. He's an Alabama Republican. He said there's little difference between sending hit squads and conducting bombing raids against enemies.
Yeah, well, we used to have the CIA do covert operations over there. I mean, again, Osama bin Laden was trained by us, and Saddam Hussein was armed by us. So, I mean, next to Israel and America being the largest arms dealer, I mean, what do you expect? That's the business of business. They're just simply doing business.
I'm going to ask you a question. How you have information that I cannot find?
Well, it goes back to my thing about reading. When I first started with this, I never thought I would spend the enormous amount of times back in the early, 1979 and 80, and going to the library. But I just got so caught up in the creation of our dollar bill, how our money and our monetary system, it led it all interconnects because it is all about money. And then I started doing investigative reporting by calling the authors. And I used to say, well, how come you're not dead? I'll give you an example. Dan Moldia. And I'm sure Trivisonno interviewed him about the book called Interference, how the NFL is corrupt, back in the early 80s. He was one of my jump starters to get involved in radio. And I mean, my premise is, if I know this, you should know this. And then what do you do with it once you've got this information? Because I don't have any political aspirations because I can't steal enough. If I'm going to be a politician, I'm going to tell you up front, I'm going to steal with both hands. It's part of the game. There is no such thing as an honest politician because they got bridges and airports named after them. They still good.
Yes,
I mean, you know what I mean? And the thing about it is there's so much credible, good information out there. And the people of America are really decent, law-abiding. We play by the rules, Rick. We register our guns. We register our cars. We get driver's license. Talk to somebody that's in the prison, which I do. Talk to the guys that don't play by the rules. They think we're fools. Look at the... Don't tell me you can't get away with murder. I don't want to mention the ex-football player's name.
OJ?
Thank you. Come on. It's just us. That's between you and me. Just us. And I got a lot of good friends that are lawyers, and they'll agree with me.
Howie in Parma, you're on the big one.
Hello?
Hi. Thank you for your patience.
Gilly.
Yes.
My God, we're live and in color.
Yes.
If I could just take a moment and say hi to my blind Aunt Helen, who listens to you religiously and loves you forever, I will do that.
You just did.
Apparently I did. Listen.
Say hi to Norm Ezzy.
All right. Hi, Norm.
Hi, Guy.
Gilly, you're a brilliant guy. You have a great talk show. Norm, I love you to pieces. God bless you. But, pretty soon Clear Channel is going to take some money out of Gilly's paycheck because you're doing half the work for him.
Norm has a lot of information.
Rick doesn't need Norm Ezzy, but the thing about it is Rick and I in 38 states and half of Canada and a 50,000-watt radio station based on the email that we're getting, we know what we're doing, and we're getting a lot of applause for Rick, and I'm talking from military people, so we're hitting some major nerves tonight, and that's what it's all about.
Oh, Norm, I'm sorry. Please, don't take it the wrong way.
No, I didn't.
Howard, do you have a question?
Yeah, actually, well, not a question, an observation. You were talking about, euphemistically, the term Arab Alley for around the 125th and Lorraine neighborhood.
Yeah.
I made a point of going there today because that's where, by the way, Aunt Helen lives at around 129.
Yeah.
And I've driven that road so many times, and I've never stopped. Well, I went in and went to, whatever it is, Visitor's Bakery, had myself a little sesame seed cookie and coffee, talked with the gentleman there, and I'm like, you know what? I just wanted to say that I wanted to support you, and I respect your rights to be here, and I embrace your being an American citizen, and I will not damn you for your color of your skin or your religious beliefs. And the man was so very grateful for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was important for me. And then I went to the little grocery store across the street and got myself some apple vinegar and some candy, and I told the man the same thing. I said, I respect your right to be here. What has happened is truly evil and horrid, and I said, and I'm sorry for all the times that people give you the finger or that people say bad things about you by virtue of your nationality. And I just said I won't be a part of it. I want all these people that perpetrated this to have a very unpleasant life. And when, like you say, when they go to meet their God, when they've been promised their 7 virgins or whatever for what they're doing, I hope they're in for the rudest of shocks.
Well, yeah, 300-pound hoofers. I agree.
I really do.
Howie, I appreciate the phone call, and I'd just like to remind you that, geez, it makes it sound as if I'm lazy or something. If Art Bell has a guest, does that mean that he's letting them do 50% of the work?
No,
Does that mean the callers are doing 33% of the work?
No, Rick, I really appreciate the opportunity because it's been 2 years since we've been on the airways here, and there was 2 years of a lot of personal grief here, and we've making some headways tonight, and I'm grateful, and I really am. I'm grateful to you.
Well, I'll tell you, when we've yet to scratch, we've got more to go. We've got more to go too because this is a lot deeper than you think. And it's an ever-perpetuating good versus evil that what I want to discuss next hour is really a little more in depth of how conflict is created on purpose and how people can profit from conflict, and that's why there always will be conflict, and why we propped people up like the Shah of Iran, why Ayatollah Khomeini died of old age, why Saddam Hussein was not taken out. Those questions and more, but now with coverage of what in the world's happening, here's Cliff Bakley.
Cleveland's only news radio. Your official weather station. The home of the Indians, Cavaliers, and Browns fans. This is the big one. Now, continuing coverage on News Radio, WTAM 1100, Cleveland.
Amid all the rubble at the Twin Towers, the passport of a suspected terrorist. Good evening, I'm Cliff Bakley. This is the 11 o'clock report on News Radio, WTAM 1100. Details coming up. Channel 3 weather, here's Mike Stone.
Just a few clouds overnight with a low near 44. For Sunday, mostly sunny near 70.
Currently 50 degrees at your official weather station, News Radio, WTAM 1100.
Attack on America. Our in-depth team coverage continues right now.
In the ruins of the Twin Towers, AP reports authorities say the passport of a suspected hijacker has been discovered. Reuters says in New Jersey, a man has been arrested in connection with the Trade Center attack, and a second arrest warrant has been issued for a material witness, that person not in custody. Newsweek magazine reporting 5 hijackers received training at secure U.S. military installations during the 1990s. Newsweek also says 2 weeks before the attacks, the FBI had begun checking 2 of the suspected hijackers. Unless we think this is the end, well, we should think again, says Newsweek's John Barry, who authored the article on the hijackers.
The FBI suspects that there are other terrorist teams on U.S. soil lying low. And I would think that if we get into a war with terrorists, as the president is now vowing, then it is likely that they will try to strike at us again.
President Bush says this is war on terrorism. Marcia Salter, ABC News.
Ohio reservists and National Guard members are waiting to hear if they'll be called to duty. More from our Renee Sexton.
Some 15,000 Army and Air National Guardsmen and reservists are standing by in case they get a call for deployment for United States military action. Captain Neil O'Brien with the Ohio National Guard says these part-time military people are ready to go.
Well, many of them, in particular in the National Guard, are drilling this weekend and undergoing their regularly scheduled training. But for the most part, like all Americans, they're probably sitting by the television and monitoring news reports, and if called upon to respond, we'll be ready to go.
Renee Sexton, News Radio WTAM 1100.
Mayor White says local Arab Americans are being unfairly targeted by fellow Clevelanders simply because of their religion, dress, and culture.
One is probably one too many. We did have an attack on an Arab grocer yesterday that sent that grocer, Arab American grocer, to the hospital.
White says cops are patrolling near Arab businesses, neighborhoods, and mosques. American, Northwest, and Continental are all planning a 20% cut in their schedules. They're citing the new security measures now in place. Continental CEO Gordon Bethune says the airline will also lay off 12,000 employees.
Adverse effects on air travel demand and the operational and financial cost of a dramatically increased security requirements prevent us from operating our current flight schedule and our current workforce.
There's no word yet as to the impact on Continental's Cleveland hub. Mayor White today called on the president and Congress to support the airline industry. And you can help in many ways. Theron Evans is with the Hard Rock Cafe. He's organizing the collection of boots, socks, dog food, jeans, and other items to be sent to New York.
It's overwhelming, and I'll tell you, when it's really hard, I have to ask people not to cry when they come up here, because they're going to get me started. And right now, this is a happy and joyous stuff right now. No crying allowed here.
You can also make donations outside Cleveland City Hall tomorrow between 10 and 4. And a U-Haul truck leaves for New York in an hour from Route 14 in Streetsboro. Mourners sang the Barney theme song, I Love You, at the funeral for 3-year-old Christine Hansen, who was on the United flight that slammed into the World Trade Center. Friends said the little girl would often ask guests at her house to sing the Purple Dinosaurs anthem with her. Channel 3 weather is next. It's 11:04 at News Radio WTAM 1100.
Stop by Gemini Automotive Care for great service, straight answers, and upfront pricing on all repairs. Available only at select Goodyear retailers. For the Gemini nearest you, call 1-877-GEMINI-1.
In America's moment of profound sorrow, we must as a nation band together to help heal and comfort all the friends and families of those who were lost in the terrible tragedies that took place throughout the United States. Here at the Clark Automotive Group, our thoughts and prayers are with all the innocent people who lost their lives. Join us. God bless America.
Cleveland's fastest, most powerful triple Doppler radar. Live, accurate, in-depth storm tracking. Your official weather station. News Radio, WTAM 1100.
Channel 3 weather. Here's Mike Stone.
Skies will be clear to partly cloudy overnight with overnight lows between about 40 and 45. For Sunday, mostly sunny and a bit warmer, a high near 70. Partly cloudy Sunday night with a low near 50. And then on Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 74. A chance of a few showers Monday night into Tuesday.
At your official weather station, clear skies and 50 degrees. I'm Cliff Bakley on Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100.
Continuing coverage coming up at the bottom of the hour. Bulletins at 1. News Radio, WTAM 1100.
None of us could have envisioned the barbaric acts of these terrorists. But they have stirred up the might of the American people. And we're going to get them.
President Bush has ordered U.S. troops to get ready for war, bracing Americans for a long and difficult assault against terrorists to avenge Tuesday's deadly attacks. He declared those who make war against the U.S. have chosen their own destruction. He vowed that American troops will hunt down terrorists and, quote, smoke them out of their holes, unquote. He says he will not settle for a token act, and that America's response must be sweeping, sustained, and effective. I'm joined by local political pundit Norm Ezzy. You've been studying the Middle East for a long time. The phone number here, 578-1100, and the 216 area code. The toll-free open at 888-723-WTAM. Why don't we kill these people when we have the chance? Why is it a part of the United Nations Charter that says that we will not kill Saddam Hussein? Or why do these people exist?
Well, they're necessary for business because they prop up these regimes, and these people that are they're servants, and that's what they are. The populations of, let's say, Iraq or Iran. I mean, we're talking generations of monarchies and royal families, and in that cultural, you got to get into the Mideast mind where most of these people are dirt poor. Only the royal families and the sheiks and the princesses, like when they come to the Cleveland Clinic, and they are very generous with their money. Like in Kuwait. I've never been there, but it's a beautiful city where they do have fabulous malls. And basically, when Bechtel Corporation was there with George Shultz in the early 80s with Saudi Arabia, and they built huge, elaborate airports. And by the way, they have an infrastructure to basically pale by comparisons of our old, remember the days in the 50s and 60s of civil defense. I mean, they're geared for what I would dread to say a nuclear confrontation.
Now, wasn't Saudi Arabia, are they now a debtor nation?
Saudi Arabia, a debtor nation? I think not. No.
See, someone had mentioned something to me about how the royal families of some of these nations just milk the place dry.
Well, they would milk it for their own benefit, but it's not a debtor nation. And one other thing, you were talking about the New World Order before you went to the break.
Yes.
I want to do a quote real quick, because you know how I hate to read. On May 13th, 1947 in London, quote from Winston Churchill. Again, 1947, I'm sorry. Unless some effective world super government for the purposes of preventing war can be set up and begin its reign, the prospects for peace and human progress are dark and doubtful. Without a united Europe, there is no prospect of world government. Elsewhere, Churchill said, quote, the creation of an authoritative world order is the ultimate aim toward which we must strive. Churchill.
The New World Order.
Right. Now, Charles de Gaulle, quote, nations must unite in a world government or perish.
They've been talking about this for 60 years, 50 years.
It actually goes back, and I hate to read on the air because I'm a terrible reader, but it goes back to the days of Abe Lincoln. I mean, the quotes are there, so we have the blueprint in front of us. We know where we're at already. I mean, our currency is worthless. It's just not backed by gold or silver anymore. I mean, people don't understand that. We accept it as good tender. But again, in the scheme of things, talking about the Middle East, this is a region of the area that has shaken its fist at America. We are the great infidels and the great Satan and all those trigger words, but unfortunately it is all about money. These regimes that we have, Gaddafi, I mean, there's hit squads that can take these people out, people, okay? Don't you think, I mean, my God, I mean, don't you think there's an Arabic, America's Most Wanted for some serial rapists over there where they behead them? Are we that naive? Are we that stupid? But you put the religious aspect in it, and they're very well insulated, and then they have the capabilities of nuclear technology or biological or chemical. Now these people become very dangerous players. And when you have oil, you have money. And when you have money, you have power. How you disperse your funds through the globe makes these people beyond reproach right now. And, you know, I pray for the commander-in-chief. I do. Because I really, you know, I made a statement on my website, storminnorm.com, and I'm somewhat kind of like feeling bad about why I put that up there, because it's the armed forces that's going to do the grunt. Those boys in Washington, D.C. are going to be in their ivory halls. You know, Orrin Hatch, Barney Frank, you know, Mr. Cheney. I'd like to suit them up and ship them over there. See how they like it.
Yeah, when you start mixing, and in a lot of regards, what did we do after World War II when basically we helped countries out in the Middle East by helping them get their oil out of the ground? We didn't teach them how to farm or how to grow anything or how to we taught them how to sell oil. And they became wildly rich and powerful because of it. Is that not true?
Absolutely. We showed them how to get the oil out of the ground, and they said, be very patient. They spoke about the loss of their land. And again, we get into the Palestinian situation. It's a tragedy on both sides. This is a quagmire that will be settled with really the second coming.
Didn't they claim that the state of Israel would be driven into the sea in 3 weeks or 3 months?
Yeah.
And it never happened. And that there are people over there that want, in their mind, they want their land back.
Exactly.
And there will always be a dispute.
And there's a lot of good Muslims in the world. Believe me, folks, I know these people, okay? And they got a good heart. And it's, you know, it's always the few that can pull the good down. And this is where we have to be an educated population in this country today to know who an identifiable enemy is. Where are they? And are we going to eradicate them? You hear the word eradicate. What are we, exterminators now? Okay? I mean, what are we going to call the Orkin Man every time one of these guys pop up? We're talking about our freedoms in America. We've been violent. No, and let me back it up. There's nobody madder than I with that precision bombing. And that's what it was. It was a bomb. It was a very cheap bomb when you put it in dollars and cents.
Sure, they
just used us.
They just stole one of our planes, a couple of our planes, 4 of our planes, one's filled with fuel, and run them into buildings.
And they were trained in sunny Florida. They rented cars. They ate good. They slept good. They probably went to a strip bar and all of that. Okay? And guess what? They looked in the mirror and says, today I die for Allah. What kind of bad guy are we facing? A diabolical one.
Mike Trivisonno, you're on the air.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Pretty interesting.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that you just don't hear on the radio.
I got to ask Norm a couple of questions real quick, since he seems like he has all the information. Did Bin Laden buy, I've heard that Bin Laden bought over the years 33 nuclear weapons from Russia. Is there any?
Well, there is. Let me back it up. It is suitcase bombs, but they kind of, you're going to appreciate this, Mike, and I feel somewhat honored to speak to you because you're a tough guy to get a hold of. Unfortunately, the Russians aren't as stupid as I don't want to say that. They're not dumb people, okay? The Russian mafia, they know what they're doing. Give me a little piece at a time, okay? That's the good news. Unfortunately, he has a lot of chemical and biological weapons, okay? And I'm telling you straight up. They duped them. They really did. They duped them. Now, Saddam Hussein is another story. We don't know. We kicked out the UN inspectors, Michael. We don't know what that SOB's got. And he is holding hands with Osama bin Laden. Don't believe the news media about Saddam Hussein telling us we got to be cool.
Now, let me ask you this question. Is there any possibility we've been infiltrated with the terrorists, not only in the United States, but in Mexico and Canada?
20 years ago. Go ahead.
Is there any way they could have any of these weapons near us?
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Read the book Through the Eyes of the Enemy by Stanislav Lunoff. If you want me to come down to the radio station, I'll personally give it to you, like I did that one time when you was out at Best Buys and I gave you the thing about Bill Clinton, which you probably didn't read because you were going to the track. But anyhow, what I'm telling you, big guy, we're in trouble, and we need your voice on the airways. We need Rick Gilmour's voice on the airways. We need Mr. Ray Davis to say, hey, you ain't going to be peddling no advertising time if we're all hunkered down and afraid to go out and look at things and buy things in this country. It's time for us guys to take it back. And I'm talking about educating the American people.
All right, now the other question I need to know, how do we get along with India?
India, and I can say a lot of jokes about that country because of McDonald's, but I won't refrain from that. India, but their nuclear capability is the wild card. I can talk to you, Mike, because you're a gambler. They're the wild card, baby.
Well, because I see India maybe the key to being a stronghold for us if they allow us in there. Would they allow us in there?
Well, right now we're negotiating. Well, see, Pakistan is in the trick bag because, and again, I've got great resources. By the way, I got an email or a page from Roger. Roger's trying to get in. Roger is a very astute traveler of the world, and Roger's got to get on the program. I don't know if you can eliminate some of your lines, but he knows about what you're talking about.
Can I get you guys to hold on? Because it's time now to go to ABC News for the latest update.
Attack on America. Our in-depth team coverage continues right now.
Showing your gratitude. On a street corner near the World Trade Center rubble in New York, this man standing on a corner cheering and waving the American flag, talking to emergency workers, police, and firefighters.
That's about all I can do. Just shake somebody's hand, look them in the eye, and say thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot, man. God bless you.
AP says the passport of a suspected hijacker has been found in the ruins of the Twin Towers. Reuters reporting a man has been arrested in New Jersey in connection with the Trade Center terrorism, and officials are looking for a material witness. A warrant has been issued. Newsweek magazine says 5 of the suspected hijackers were trained at secure U.S. military sites. This is the article's author, John Barry.
3 of them appear to have been at the Pensacola Naval Air Station in Florida in the mid to late 90s. And we know that because they gave addresses on driver's license and credit cards and so on as being an address on the base where foreign military nationals undergoing U.S. military training are housed.
Marcia Salter, ABC News.
When news happens, get more than headlines. Get in-depth team coverage on News Radio WTAM 1100.
I'm Rick Gilmour, broadcasting live from Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100, joined on the line by my guest, Norm Ezzy, local political pundit and somewhat of I'd consider an expert on what's going on in the Middle East, and also joined on the line by Mike Trivisonno, heard weekdays here at 3 on the big one. Mike, you know, this has been going on for a long time. Norm was telling me that the failed immigration policies of the United States have been going back, and everybody thought Pat Buchanan was a wacko because he said, close our doors.
Yeah, well, you know, that's one of the reasons I'm so highly criticized, because I brought that up this week.
Well, you're right about that, but let me tell you something about Mr. Pat Buchanan, snicker, smile, and steal all the money along the way. Okay? He's a professional politician, pal, and I'm going to burst that bubble on the Reform Party, too, because where's Ross Perot? Where are these boys? Where's Mr. Forbes? Where are they? Where's all those political candidates that want to occupy the White House? They're counting their money.
Then they're probably afraid to speak their mind at this stage of the game.
I mean, you know, believe me, I could throw some stones out here, but what good is it? I'm just a little stone in the shoe.
You know, Norm, what I'm worried about, and I try to convey this over the air, and when I said negotiate with this guy, I didn't mean go get the guy. I didn't mean not to go get the guy. I mean, let's get this guy and let's talk to this guy and interview him before we put him in a gas chamber or an electric chair, whatever we're going to do with him.
Mike, it'd be nice if we lived in a perfect world, but he wants to be a martyr. And when he becomes a martyr, the cause even gets bigger.
Well, he's already considered a martyr,
exactly.
And he's not even dead yet.
Right, exactly.
I mean, don't we take time out to find out what makes these guys tick?
Well, if we had and I'm going to back it up, and I know you're going to agree with me when I get done with this little stick. If we had the intelligence capability during the last 8 years where people were begging the so-called suits, and you know what I'm talking about in Washington, that we need to communicate. We need the Mossad. We need these organizations that can go to these people. With suitcase in hand, there's been CIA operatives that were in the region, that knew the man, that lived among the people, but they were negated, they were neutered, and the funding was cut off during the Clinton administration.
Wow. You know, there was a senator on, and I kicked myself in the rear end by watching so much television and doing all the reading like you have, and I missed the guy's name, but I heard him speak, that he said the number one obligation in this country by our government is to protect our people.
Absolutely.
And then everything else,
absolutely.
And then everything else after that falls in place. I mean, spending $50 million a year on saving whales is way down the totem pole. That $50 million could go to protecting the people of this country.
Well, let me say this on my dime, and I'll take personal responsibility of this business of foreign aid to certain particular countries on a daily basis, and when they negate the retribution to the survivors and sailors of the USS Liberty during the Gulf of Tonkin, and for those that are politically informed know what I'm talking about, and they continually have their hands in our pockets, we have no one to blame but the ignorance of the American people.
And I also hear a lot of people quoting the similarities between the fall of the Roman Empire and what's going on
here. Yeah, and there's a lot of, I want to tell you something, there's a lot of sick SOBs out there that are wishing that happens to Americans, because these are the people that want everything for nothing. They're addicted to socialism. They want us to fall, Mike. They don't want us to work the hard way like you and your father and our upbringing. They want it for nothing. They want it on a silver platter. I'm related to and I won't use no colors because more whites are on welfare than blacks. I'll burn down that ghetto house, and you will subsidize me with government housing, and the hardworking people of America will pay for it. Well, I'm maxed out and I'm taxed out, and I ain't taking it no more.
You know, I don't want to sound like a sap here or a sucker or try to get people on my side on this issue, because I could care less, okay? But when I had a veteran call me on the air Friday...
I heard it.
I heard it too.
And break down and cry.
He made me cry, pal. I was outside washing my car.
Well, I went home that night and cried like a baby. I tried to hold it in during the radio, because I had to do a radio show and there was a lot of tension there.
You got a tape. You played it every damn day, pal.
And there was even police at our radio station, so it was quite hectic Friday.
I'm not blowing smoke here. I had numerous people call me about that and played it on my phone and everything. Okay, it tugged at my heart, and I heard it. And I know you're in the business. I don't know if that was a shock value put on between you and Kim. And Kim says, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. You got to be informed. If you don't do politics, politics is going to do you.
Right. Well, and when I heard a veteran say that he's sorry he fought for this country because of the way it turned out. I mean, if that's not a powerful message there, that can't be the only veteran that feels that way.
Rick and Michael, listen to me. A couple of years ago when I was at the Pinwheel radio station in the morning, there was a gentleman sitting on a bus stand over there on Huron Road. You know what I'm talking about. Wanting to wait for me with my baseball bat and my duffel bag when I plugged in $5. I have nothing left to give for the country.
Norm, I had to you watch your language.
I'm sorry.
I know.
I have nothing to give for my country. Why did I fight for this? He looked around here on Lee, looked left, and he came down in a cab. I will never forget that man as long as I live. These World War II veterans deserve better, Mike, and us baby boomers, we're nothing but mooches.
It's funny sometimes I think about what you say, Mike, when you say sometimes you're happy you're on the back nine of life.
Rick, I really mean that.
I mean, I look around and I think, and you know who I worry about? I worry about my 24-year-old wife.
Mike, how old are you?
50.
I'm 53, okay? We had a good time, didn't we?
We did.
We played safe, right?
Yeah.
What do we do? Smoke lucky sykes, drag race down the roads around here, you know what I mean? Maybe we got pinched and the old man used to get us out of the slammer.
Yeah.
It was a simple time, pal. What went wrong with America? Where did we lose it?
I don't know, Norm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then we have to...
So where did we lose it? When we pay basketball players zillions of dollars and we got to import teachers from India to teach the kids in urban schools, when you have a superintendent that blows his brains out, Doc Holliday, at the school over there by the aviation school, and then you got a Mayor White that says, I'm going to take over the school system because you can't read and write and all the teachers care about is their union pensions, something's wrong with America.
You know, I just wish that, you know, more people would take time out to pay attention, you know?
They don't, though, Mike. Come on. We talk about the lines on the weekends. We want to have a good time. We want to go to the track. I got a hot one in the fifth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We want America. We don't want to learn this stuff. This stuff is boring.
Mike, look at it this way. The statement that you made about the people that are fair weather flag flyers,
yeah,
it's like the people that when their world is falling to pieces, they get on their knees and say, oh, God, please help me. But where are they on a daily basis saying, thank you, God, everything's going along fine?
Mike, you are absolutely right in what you said. They're fair weather Americans. Believe me when I tell you, okay? I mean, misery loves company, okay? That's a hell of an expression. And these people get on the bandwagon because they think it's the right thing to do, and in their hearts, they're looking at their checkbook. Most of the people are 2 or 3 weeks away from being homeless. They're losing their jobs, and they haven't got a clue why. And they don't even vote.
Yeah. I was just in my backyard, and I saw a couple of planes go over the yard, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I told my wife, I says, look at this. I'm getting excited seeing a plane over the skies of the United States of America.
Sure.
I mean, how sad that I felt back there.
Yeah.
That, you know, something that we've taken for granted all our lives, you know, that freedom has been taken away from us, you know. My mother is in California. The poor woman is afraid to death to come home.
Michael and Rick, every schoolyard in America, I don't want to say any more. Every school bus in America, in the heartland, the farmland, Iowa, Nebraska. Come on, guys. IPP, Garden City, Kansas. I used to haul beef out of there to New York and Boston, New York box beef. You know what's out there? The Mexican mob washing their money. We're a sewer, and we let these politicians do it. And, Rick, I know I'm speeding along here because we relax our immigration laws. When I spoke about Laredo, Texas, and the illegal trucks, I was in Alice, Texas. I was in McAllen, Texas. I was in Brownsville, Texas. I was given opportunities to haul drugs through the borders there. The Rio Grande is nothing more than a creek. And this stuff is coming to us every day. And you want to know something? I asked for a national shutdown when I was driving a truck. I couldn't get 2 truckers to shut down their rigs to stop the drugs. The guys at the Border Patrol and the people that know me, the Texas Rangers on the Rio Grande trying to fight these drug cartels, Mexican mafia is cruel.
You know, Norm, you also made a good point for people listening in 38 states and half of Canada. If you really want to get the true scoop on what's going on, go to the BBC because you don't get as much propaganda as we get in this country.
Well, Mike, I don't know if you read the emails that I try to send you because one day I'm going to come down here and give you an Italian slap, but you got to do some push-ups. You got to go to storminnorm.com. It's all there. Prove me wrong.
How about that, Mike Trivisonno?
Well, Norm, I haven't put the radio down since you came on the air.
Well, I appreciate that, Mike. And the truth, you want to know something? I don't want to be doing this. Hey, I could be at one of the Vegas nights you don't like to go to, all right, because those guys don't know how to deal the cards. But look, I'm here. I'll plug and play till the cows come home, baby. They got to kill me to shut me up.
Yeah, you know, I'm just worried that, Norm, you really reinforced it for me. I'm worried about the nuclear stuff that they have and how close they have it to us and where they have it, and also the germ warfare. I'm really worried about that.
I'll give you an example. The power grids, the tributaries of the Mississippi River. I forget what number we are because we're on the Great Lakes with fresh water. The infrastructures, the bridges. I mean, you know, they're trying to knock us down economically, and I think we're going to have the resolve, and I sure hope the consumers spend. If they don't start spending, if they tuck their purses in, then we're all in the boat. Okay, we got a reservation on a financial Titanic.
Well, that's a great point because what people should do now, you know, if they want to be really true Americans, is go buy stocks. You know, we're selling war bonds for the first time since World War II.
That's right. That's right.
Go fill your tank up. Buy the airplane tickets. I mean, these companies, you know, that's how they're going to destroy us. They're going to not only going to destroy the World Trade Centers, but they're going to destroy our economy.
Well, there's nothing.
Let me throw this to you because I heard your thing about you know, falling away Catholic, and I know where you're coming from with that because I was one too. The hardest commandment to keep is love thy neighbor. That's the hardest one to keep, my friend, okay? This is what we've got to become. We've got to become a community of loving neighbors and keep a watchful eye on each other. And when something bad goes down, and I know you're an anti-gunner, pal, but unfortunately you're looking at one that has a prudent man with the right to carry, and I take it where I go, okay? And let me say something. We have to protect the elderly, and we got to protect the young, and I throw it at middle class America, the baby boomers. It's our time to do what that fella that served on the Lexington did for us. And if we don't do it, our children and our grandchildren will curse us in our graves.
Norm, last question, and I'll let you guys, you got a great show tonight, Rick.
Thanks.
Last question. Jeez, I forgot what I was going to ask you. I'm so confused here tonight.
Hey, why don't you hold on and we'll do the news and then I'll come back to you. All right, yeah, hang on there because Mike has a question. And if you have questions and we have phone calls, be patient. We'll get to you. There's a lot of information to go through. And there's a lot of angry people out there, and there's a lot of worried people, too, and I don't blame you. I am one of them. Now, with coverage of what in the world's happening, here's our very own Cliff Bakley.
Continuing coverage on Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100, a service of Clear Channel Worldwide.
The search goes on for the missing, and the FBI investigation continues. Good evening. I'm Cliff Bakley. This is the 11:30 report on News Radio. WTAM 1100. Details coming up. Channel 3 weather. Here's Mike Stone.
Just a few clouds tonight and cool with a low near 44. Mostly sunny for tomorrow with a high near 70.
Currently 50 degrees at your official weather station, News Radio, WTAM 1100.
Attack on America. Our in-depth team coverage continues right now.
ABC News has learned that an arrest warrant's issued for a man detained by police in Minnesota. He's held as a material witness in the terrorist attacks. ABC's Brian Ross tells us about Habib Moussaoui.
Instructors at the Pan Am Flight School said they called the FBI on August 17th after Moussaoui showed up offering cash and asking for lessons on a 747 flight simulator. He reportedly was not interested in takeoffs and landings, only how to fly the plane in a horizontal position. After the flight school tip, Moussaoui was taken into custody on immigration charges, and FBI agents then traced him back to another flight school he had attended earlier this year in Norman, Oklahoma.
A man's arrested in Jersey City, New Jersey in connection with the terrorist attacks, according to Reuters. The Jersey City Police Director has declined to give the man's name, age, or where he's from. New Yorkers have lined the streets of Lower Manhattan to cheer rescue crews.
Oh, we love them. We appreciate. They're from not only the New York City area, but we are finding out they're all from all over the other states as well.
I'm Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
Cleveland's economy will take a hit from the terror attack this week. Continental Airlines will lay off 12,000 workers. It's not clear yet how many will be connected with the Cleveland hub. Continental, American, and Northwest Airlines all announced today a 20% cut in flights. Volunteers will be collecting non-perishable food items, bottled water, and sturdy work clothes on the steps of Cleveland City Hall tomorrow from 10 until 4. I'm Cliff Bakley on Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100.
Continuing coverage coming up at the top of the hour. Bulletins at 1. News Radio, WTAM 1100.
Johnny has crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center.
Whenever news happens.
Another apparent explosion at the Pentagon.
I saw it hit the tower and flames everywhere.
In-depth team coverage.
In a secure area of Hopkins International Airport. The initial reports was that this plane was hijacked and that there was a bomb on it.
More details from more sides of the story.
In New York is Gabe Hobbs with us now on News Radio WTAM 1100.
There's no way in or no way out.
Whenever news happens.
The rail service running through Tower City.
Depend on News Radio WTAM 1100.
The resolve. I witnessed it yesterday on the construction site. Behind the sadness and the exhaustion, there is a desire by the American people to not seek only revenge, but to win a war against barbaric behavior, people that hate freedom and hate what we stand for. And now this is an administration that is going to dedicate ourselves to winning that war.
I'm Rick Gilmour, broadcasting live from Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100, your aircraft carrier, lumbering its way through the night across 38 states and half of Canada. Joined on the line by my guest, local political pundit, Norm Ezzy. I consider you somewhat of an expert. You are of Middle Eastern descent, born in America, a veteran of the Army.
All my life in Cleveland.
Myself as well. I'm not a veteran, but I lifelong Clevelander, and also On the line is lifelong Clevelander, Mike Trivisonno.
Hey, Mike, I got a quote for you, buddy. Maurice Strong. This is an older book that I have. I can't read the date because I don't have my glasses on right now. Back then, he was a senior UN environmental official. Quote, we may have to get to the point where the only way of saving the world will be for the industrial civilization to collapse. How do you like that one? Here's another quote from this SOB. Supposedly, the people need the wise hand of the elite, even if they don't realize this. The elite have decided this on their own and believe they must act to save the world.
Wow.
Yeah. Always a savior, baby. Always a savior.
The two-part question, I'll get out of your guys' way. Number one, is this administration the one to do the job?
You want to know something? The more I read into this and the people that are the same players, and again, we can go back 5 decades. We used to call them the Rockefeller Republicans, and a lot of those conspiratorial theorists out there, the guys that Lanigan laughs at, the Trilateralists and the Bilderbergers and all of that, the Council on Foreign Relations, which are just basically alleys to make us look like a bunch of buffoons, they're there. They're there. I mean, and you want to know something? These are think tanks, and look who they're thinking for. We're sending our men and women off to war.
Yeah. Number two, will Bin Laden or Saddam or whoever we do wind up going after, in your opinion, hesitate to use the germ warfare or the nuclear arms?
Let me say this to you in my own personal opinion. It will be a twofold or a prong attack where I think they would try, and I mean this very sincerely, to do a suitcase possibility here in the States, but they will attack Israel with a vengeance.
And then Israel...
Oh, absolutely. No. Well, you want to know something about Israel and give Israel credit for this. When they get the hostages, what do? Immediately. They don't look for European Union or the United States to give them the nod. They do it.
Yeah. Israel will fire back.
Israel has neutron bombs and is not above using them.
Israel will protect Israel. And you know something? These people that are in, Mike, take a shot at you now, pal. Anti-gunners in Israel, mandatory requirement, 2 years in the military, and that's the way they live. And you want to know something? America is America, and I don't want to live like Israel.
Yeah. Norm, very good, Norm. Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, bye-bye. Mike Trivisonno heard weekdays after Rush at 3 p.m. here.
I don't want to, Rick, I got to tell you.
Yes.
I'm getting deluged with email. I mean, I like to go to the calls because people are saying that you're not taking calls.
I know, absolutely. I was just thinking that myself, and it's I thought I'd put Mike on because I know he had some questions.
My brother Roger's a brilliant guy. He can cover a lot of European stuff.
And you know what? He just doesn't have sometimes the time during the day. Sometimes the schedule's just so busy. And we have the time here.
Let me tell you what kind of callers you have. This one here on my little screeners says, Mike's been on 26 minutes. Now it's my turn.
Let's go to Bernie in Cleveland. You're on the air.
Yes. Who are you tonight? Or should I ask, where is your money tonight? Now, my remarks are about our deterrence and our money, which means it is about our freedoms. Deterrence. Where is it tonight? Where are they? Where are the suicide bombers, the kamikaze pilots of World War II? What stopped them? And every other terrorist act for close to a half a century.
Nuclear weapons.
It was a statement of deterrence to nuclear weapons that were sent to their mainland. And where was the escalation that took place after that? It was deterred. And how many wars, how many conflicts have we been involved in since then? We, as Americans, are not responsible for this act of terrorism. Those Americans, and you see it, and you hear it, who continually tell you that there are causal models that somehow justify that act and that we are responsible. Ask yourself where their money is. Now, let's go back to this deterrence. Take a look out the window. What do you see as an American? You see the greatest economic system, which means our freedoms that have ever existed. George W. Bush, Mr. President. Tonight, we are Americans at war. Where is our deterrence? You have a system in front of you. Use it. Blow the bastards back to hell.
Where do we start, Bernie? Do you suggest we start by what? Nuking Afghanistan and then Iraq?
It is state-supported terrorism. As an American at war, I appreciate my right of free speech this evening.
Oh.
Thank you, Rick.
You're more than welcome. I just have concerns that... Norm, remember when John Wayne died?
Yes.
Died of cancer, and they said it was probably from smoking them Camels for 50 or 60 years.
No doubt.
Well, also, him and everyone else, almost everyone else on the cast of a movie called The Conquerors, strangely enough, died of cancer because it was filmed on a test site in Utah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Was it a Western or something?
It was Susan Hayward. No, it was about Genghis Khan. Strangely enough.
Okay.
It was John Wayne as an Oriental man.
Yeah, they all got ill.
They all got ill. I think Susan Hayward died of cancer. I believe whoever the co-stars were, a lot of the cast died. A lot of the crew died. Don't you think that if we just go around the world and indiscriminately dropping nuclear weapons that people like Israel, who we are friends with, would say, what happens to all that fallout?
Well, the prevailing winds, I don't even want to get into it. I mean, my God, man. I mean, you know how close we are for the genie to be out of the bottle? You realize where we're at. And, the sad part about it is, and they just showed it because I've got Fox News on with the sound down, they keep showing the towers. They're perpetuating this war mentality. And like with Mike